Okay, so now we're going to get into the actual webinar. I'm going to try to answer your questions throughout if you do have them, but for right now I'm going to share my screen so you can see the presentation that I'm going to talk about. So sharing screen. Alrighty. So pro tips for your calendar and to-do list. Interesting topic. So why get organized? Why are calendars a thing? What's the importance of it all? Whether you're a college student or a high school student right now, just getting organized, it just leads in the long run for less stress because you have your life kind of put in place and you have your set deadlines and set projects already out on the table and knowing when to kind of look at those deadlines and backtrack when they need to get done, so you're not freaking out when the time comes for the actual project to be completed or that final to happen. And again, having deadlines set out in place so you're not missing out or not knowing, being that one student in class is saying, oh, we have a test today, not being that student because you're already organized and you already prepared yourself for that week ahead. And again, when you're prepared, when you know when the deadlines are, when you know how to tackle certain projects or tasks, it usually tends to have, you tend to have higher grades because you're already aware of what you need to get done, and half the battle is actually completing the project or completing the task. And so having those done leads to higher grades. And it just makes a good impression. Whenever someone is on time, if you can account for them and anything that they're going to bring to the table, that's always a great way to leave a good impression. And so that's the importance of being organized. It leads to all these things. A way to stay organized and to have a great to-do list is managing larger tasks and breaking them down into pieces. That's a great way to kind of, again, lead to less stress when you know that you have this paper that needs to get done and you need to make sure it's done by March 7th. So instead of leaving it to March 5th to write your paper, making sure you're going a week beforehand and having an outline ready and breaking it down that way. Like Monday, I'm going to work on the introduction, or Tuesday, I'm going to work on finding my quotes. Wednesday, I'm going to work on paragraph 2, 3, and 4. And Friday, I'm going to have it edited. Things like that. That's how you break down larger tasks into pieces so they're much more manageable. So right now, I'm just going to get into the type of strategies for to-do lists. There's, as you can see, 4 of them here. So whatever is your way of tackling certain issues, but topics, tasks, and projects. These are just some of the few that we've come up with, and maybe if they're cool with you, then you can take those on for yourself. So as you can see, there's tackling your to-do list by the due dates or the size of the task, or having maybe a lot of your heavier items towards the beginning of the week or Mondays, or tackling it towards Fridays, specific part of the week of the day. And then also making sure, if this is a strategy that you would like, tackling your projects through the level of energy that's required. So how much brain power is it taking to get through all your tasks? Maybe doing the harder ones towards the beginning of the week, and maybe the ones that don't require that much brain energy towards the end of the week. So strategy number 1. This one is number 1 because I think this is the most common form of making a to-do list, is like looking at it by the deadlines and kind of going backwards. So as you can see here, this person, they listed their psych paper is due March 10th. So they kind of worked backwards. So they knew March 10th, that's the deadline. So let's say a couple weeks before that, I need to have my first draft done so that it can be edited, looked over, so I can have it done by March 10th. And even before February 24th, I need to have my outline done, so I am on track for February 24th when I need that draft done. So it's just kind of like setting yourself up for success in a way by looking at it by the priority of the task that is at hand, and then working your way backwards. That's the most common way, I think, because when we are college students, we usually get our syllabus right at the beginning, the first day of class. And so you're already like, all right, I know when my final is, I know when my midterms are. Let me set myself up the weeks before that to see when I should be planning for studying or for writing a paper. Also, another strategy is the size of the task. So a lot of people, when they have their to-do list, and maybe if they're just writing them down, they'll just literally write down the task at hand. So emailing my professor, writing it down, writing my paper, okay, going to the grocery store, all right, and just writing this task down just like that, and not really allotting a certain amount of time for those tasks, because maybe emailing your professor, like it says here, that'll take about like 10 minutes to do so, whereas writing a paper might take you an hour. So really putting the effort in and putting that extra step of the amount of time it'll take to complete a task will really ensure that you'll actually get that task done, and you're not leaving it kind of to the wayside. So when, I don't know, Friday gets here and you were supposed to have your math assignment done, it's not like, oh man, I only did question 1 and 2 because I was just like, I kind of just felt like I was done with it. So really just allowing the specific amount of time for each task. Planning for the day or planning for the week. This one is something that I think there was a strategy for me that I did when I was in college. When I was in college, I also was in a dance team. And so a lot of our practices ran from 7 to 10 o'clock at night or 8 to 11 o'clock at night. So basically by the time I got home, it was pretty much midnight. And so my brain was not in the right space or mental capacity to do homework. I wanted to just go to bed. So what I did is I knew that Monday nights and Wednesday nights I was going to be dancing. So I made sure that Monday morning or Wednesday morning, that those were my days where I got a lot of my stuff done, because I knew Tuesday morning and Thursday morning I was still really tired from the night before, and I just maybe wasn't all the way mentally there. So that's how I planned my week. I planned all of my big ticket items for Monday and Wednesday morning. And anything after that, I left for smaller things or things that didn't require much brain capacity. Strategy 4 is, I kind of talked about it a bit in the previous one, but the complexity of a task and the energy required for a task. So like I said, if that math assignment takes you a really long time, then maybe making sure that that's the first thing you do in the morning is working on that math assignment, because that's when your brain is at, for the most part, for most people, if you're a morning person, when it's most alert and you're more aware of what you're doing. And then knocking out the easier things towards the end of the day. Like I said, like grocery shopping, it doesn't really take much mental capacity. So you could really just go down the aisles back and forth, and that could be something that you do Thursday nights or Friday nights, which is something that I did while I was in college, or when I was just really, really hungry and had to get my groceries. And then making sure, I think a lot of people kind of forget this, but making sure that you celebrate the fact that you completed your tasks. I think we always just go through, okay, I got that done, cool, on to the next one. Oh, I got that done, all right, cool, on to the next thing. And we don't really give ourselves enough time to breathe and just realize that, hey, like, I did a lot today. Like, give yourself a high five or a pat on the back, because getting through maybe a couple of things in one day can be really hard when the stresses of just life happen. So just making sure to just celebrate yourself and treat yourself when you get some things done. Okay, cool. So now that we've gone through the actual strategies of to-do lists, now this is like you actually putting that all into practice in a planner. Whether you're a person that likes to physically write things down on a paper planner, or if you're really into the technology and you love online planners, then that's something that you can dabble in and deal with, see what your preference is. For me, I like online planners, mostly because you can move things around and make sure it's going where you want it to. I think that's kind of the way my brain is set up. I like to just think and all willy-nilly, whereas on paper planners, it's kind of just lists. And I like to think in a little bit of chaos, organized chaos though. So using your planner. I think a lot of people think that their planners are just for putting in my class time and maybe some projects and finals and stuff, which is true. That is very, very true. Putting in your class schedule is very nice and something that you should be doing. But you also should like kind of mentally know when your classes are. So I think another great use for a planner is inputting, yes, your finals, your projects, and also your assignments and maybe bills, things like that, or things like studying time. I think we don't really put in allot ourselves time for studying. We just like, it happens when it happens. But making sure you're allotting a specific amount of time to study and to get specific tasks done. And also, like I said before, celebrating. So putting in some time for fun or just some self-care. So as you can see here, this person in blue, they have most of their class schedule. In red, I think there's a lot of meetings. And then like this gray kind of color is a plethora of different things. But if you can see on Monday, at 8 o'clock, they're making sure that they're watching The Bachelor. So it's just not just about putting in your class schedule and times of assignments and whatnot. It's using it how you want it to make sure that you are on top of your stuff. And then another cool thing that Google Calendar has is that you can set up reminders for yourself. So not only can you input events and your class schedule, things like that, but you can also input pieces of reminders, and they will constantly update for the next day until you mark it as done. So you're literally reminded about certain things. And I can show you that on my laptop. Let me just go to my calendar really fast. Okay, cool. So this is, I'm gonna just show you last week. This is an example of my calendar. And here, if you just push, literally you can click anywhere on Google Calendar and this will pop up. And there's an event, which is usually the things that are here. And then you can also click reminder. And so let's say I need to go to the grocery store. So go to the grocery store. Put that there, put the reminder on, and hit create. Well, this is today, so let's say I wanted it for that day last week and I forgot. Then today it would have reminded me right here, hey, you need to go to the grocery store. Hey, and I put another one earlier, you need to go to the grocery store. So you're constantly reminded of certain things that you need to get done. Because sometimes, you know, your brain is just so full of whatever is happening in your life, like what's going on in politics right now. It's still 80 degrees and it's fall, like whatever is going on in your brain right now, and your phone or your laptop can remind you of the things that you might just be forgetting on a daily basis. Which is another thing. If you also, on your phone, you can upload the Google apps, all of the Google apps, which I think is really cool. Google Docs, Google Calendar, spreadsheets, all that jazz. You can update that onto your phone. And so you can sync your calendar onto your phone. So maybe you're just not in the place to have your laptop out. You can do the same things that I was just doing on my laptop on your phone, which I think is really cool because we're on our phones half the time anyways. So that's basically it. I went through that really fast, but if anyone has any questions, let me know. I'm gonna post the pre-poll, so make sure you take the pre-poll so that you can get credit for this webinar that we were just all in today. Let me just post it right now. Cool, so there you go. Just answer the questions. As you can see, they are the same questions as before. So if you're paying attention, then you know the answers. So feel free to answer. And also, if anyone has any questions, I know I went through that really, really fast. So just feel free to ask in the chat box below, and I will answer that. And after you're done with the webinar, you are free to go because you stayed the whole time. You did the pre and post poll. So yeah, thank you all for participating and have a great evening. One more person just needs to answer, and then we are done with this webinar. Oh, got a chat. Yes. For the person that asked the question, yes. Feel free to email me with further details. cashley@studentsrisingabove.org. That would be very helpful for me to get you credit. All right, thank you everyone. Have a good night.